needing a CEU certificate. If you are needing a CEU certificate, please be sure that your first and last name is displayed within your display name. That will just help us make sure to record your participation. Now I'm going to go ahead and introduce our presenter today. It is Ms. Suzanne Hamilton. She is a licensed professional counselor. She has over 26 years of experience and is completing her doctorate this year. And she is currently in private practice after retiring as the director of Ascension Counseling Center, the treatment center of Ascension Parish Government for Mental Health and Substance Abuse Services. She is a certified domestic violence specialist and a certified anger management specialist. She has a sister who was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's disease at the age of 50. So we were just talking about how her family has used the services of our nonprofit before. And so she is someone who definitely understands the disease process and how adaptive home safety can be important for people. So that is why she's presenting on this topic today. So I'm going to pass things over to Ms. Suzanne.
Hi, thank you, Brooke. Welcome, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here. I think I did this presentation about 5 years ago, and so just it's a real honor to be asked to do it again. Like Brooke was saying, you know, in addition to being a professional and understanding that we work with caregivers, not just for Alzheimer's, but for a lot of issues, the families come in for counseling to help them through all the difficult things that they go through. But, you know, having a family member as well, I'm aware that what we do with our homes makes a big difference in how long our loved ones can stay there. So let's take a look. We do have a PowerPoint handout that I'm going to share the screen with you today, and we are going to send it out to everyone. So you'll get a copy of this. You don't have to be scribbling notes. Just relax and listen to the presentation, and we will get it to you. So let me see. I need to share my screen with you. All right, there we go. All right, everybody can see that okay?
Looks great.
Okay. All right, so we're going to look at some goals for today. Today, we want to look at how we can make the home as safe and as comfortable for the person with Alzheimer's as well as their family. And the goal of doing this is that they can stay in home as long as possible. And you know, that's one of the most difficult decisions that caregivers make when they're caring for someone with Alzheimer's is, when is it the right time to put them in assisted living facility? And you know, everybody starts out with the goal that I'm not going to do that. I'm going to keep them at home with me for the entire time, if that's at all possible. So this could be a way to do that. So we want to take a look at how you can set the home up for them. And we want to give caregivers the knowledge and the confidence to do what they need to do. And so we're going to review some specific rooms in the house, and we're going to look at some general issues that need to be considered. And we want to encourage you to look at this as a process. So getting the home to be safe for your loved one, it's not just a sprint. It's not something you do all at once. It's something that will happen over time. And so you want to begin with making a plan, visualizing what you want to achieve in your home. And that's part of what we're doing today. We're going to look at some things, and you know, some of the things we're going to talk about, you're going to know intuitively, but other things are things that you don't think about because you're just in your home and you don't see it really clearly. You just kind of see, you know, what you expect to see. So we want to talk about this. So you start visualizing what you want your home to be like, to be safe for the person that you love. And you want to start as soon as possible so you can stay one step ahead. So in other words, you don't want to wait if they get to the point where they have difficulty walking on a rug, you don't want to wait until they start having that difficulty to start changing your environment. So if you find yourself, looking at a loss one day that you did not have the day before and having to accommodate it, if you're trying to do that in the moment, in that one day, that's going to increase the stress that you feel. And so planning ahead is going to help reduce your stress. You want to make big changes early and then just kind of modify gradually. This is also going to reduce caregiver stress because you're not trying to do a lot of things at one time. And so you're basically thinking about child-proofing your home. You're safety-proofing your home. It's exactly the same thing if you have a child and so we think about that. We understand we need to child-proof, but with someone with Alzheimer's, we do need to safety-proof the home. And we want to think in terms of zones within the home. All right, so we want to identify those zones or those rooms that are dangerous. So the garage, the workshop, the kitchen, a craft room, anything like that, we want to look at what is a dangerous room in the house. Do I want to change this to make this room safe, or do I just want to block this room off so the other person cannot get access to it? And I want you to think about yourself too, because you need to have a respite zone. The caregiver needs to have a calming, meditative space where you can go to kind of recharge yourself that's off limits to your loved one and really anybody else if you want it to be. You're going to set that space up as a really nurturing place for your soul, for your spirit, for your mind, and for your body. And then the safe zone is the rest of your home where your loved one can be briefly unsupervised so that you're not stressed out. You don't have to keep an eye on them 24 hours a day. If you know you have some spaces, some places, some rooms in the house that are safe for them to be in. All right, so let me talk just in general about some things. So just this word of caution, and this is one of those things that'll seem intuitive to you, but I just want to say that, some of these suggestions, they may not match the aesthetics that you want in your home. And I get it. I love my home and I have it set up just the way I want it and have my stuff there just where I want it. And it's comfortable. And it's how I like it. And I have people that they just say, I have to be surrounded by the stuff I love, especially if they have family heirlooms. It makes them feel connected to their family. But you may not be able to do that. And that's okay. But the comfort and the safety and the ease of caring for your loved one is going to gradually take priority. So some of the changes, they won't be comfortable, but to emotionally to do them, but you'll get to that point where you understand where you have to make these changes. But let's talk a little bit about lighting. In general, older people need 3 times the amount of light as a younger person. That's without having issues of Alzheimer's or other things, because this makes it easier for them to see obstacles. It makes it easier for them to recognize pills if they have to take them. Look, I have 2 pills that I have to take at different times of the day, and they're both look exactly the same. They're exactly the same shape, exactly the same size, exactly the same color. The only way I can tell them the difference is to look at the number that's engraved on the side of both pills. And so if you have anything like that at all, you need a good lighting so that you're making sure you're taking the right pills. And then lighting is going to help you, the loved one, see changes in floor elevation. So going from wood to rugs, that's difficult for my sister to do. And my mother's 94. She doesn't have Alzheimer's. It's difficult for her to do too. And so it's the extra lighting is going to make it easier to see those kind of things so that we can walk. With smoke detectors, carbon monoxide, changing those batteries every 6 months. People who forget to do that, it's helpful if they do it like at Christmas and 4th of July. So that kind of can help you remember when to do it. Some of these are cautions that everybody has all the time. They're not specific to people with Alzheimer's. Things like, space heaters, electric blankets, those kind of things, making sure that you're using all of those correctly. But let me just say about electric blankets, a lot of them have these safety shutoffs on them. But if you're using an electric blanket or a heating pad, something like that, just make sure that you're checking the skin of the person who's using that, just to make sure that it's not getting overheated, they're not having a burn or anything like that. Covering your electrical outlets, making sure you don't have any wiring problems, making sure that anything, appliances, lamps, anything like that has to be plugged in, make sure that it's near the electrical outlet so that the cord is not something that they might be tripping on, getting caught on. Using caution on slippery or uneven surfaces, making walkways clutter-free. Set your water heater to an appropriate temperature so that it doesn't cause burns. Leaving emergency phone numbers and your home address near every phone. This may seem obvious in terms of, well, I know what my home address is, but if someone else is in the home with you and they need to call for an emergency, it can be very helpful to have that there for them. Any kind of important papers, jewelry, credit cards, keys, all of that needs to be securely stored. And especially, like mail and things like our keys, a lot of people will put that on a door, near a door, on a an entryway table, so they can just grab it and go. But just be aware that you may not be able to continue to do that, because the person with Alzheimer's may pick that up and, they hide things, they lose things, they throw things away. People have found their keys in their toilet. Just all kind of things can happen. So if you don't want those things kind of picked up, and disappear, then it's a good idea just to find a different place to store that. Some of this I won't mention, but just simplifying your home. Too much furniture is going to make it difficult for them to move around. Too much clutter, any piles of magazines, newspapers. Look, I get it. We have stuff that we like to keep. I have stuff that I know somebody that they just love to display all their little collectibles. We have all this stuff. We just need to make sure that all of that is safe and not going to be in the way of the person who is trying to navigate with difficulty around the house. All your furniture, tables, chairs, anything, they all need to be sturdy, and they should not roll, because if the loved one trips and tries to brace themselves on that, then the furniture, if it slides or if it rolls away, then they're gonna fall, and their situation might even be worse, because if there was no furniture there, they would fall on the flat surface of the floor or rug, something like that. But if they're holding on to furniture that's sliding, now when they fall, they may hit their head on the corner of a table. So we want to make sure, even recliners that rock, if they're coming from behind it, and it's we just want to be cautious about what we have out and what our loved ones' abilities are. We want to mark the edges of stairs, or if we need to put a gate across stairs if they have a balance problem. Removing throw rugs, clean up spills right away, lock up any gun cabinets or anything like that. We might want to use a medic alert system. You can get adaptive clothing with Velcro closures. You can get adaptive clocks that will give voice reminders of what people need to do or that it's time to get up. They're going to display whether it's night or day. Anything like that. So GPS tracking watch, telephones, you can get adaptive telephones that can dial by a photo. If you put person's photo in little slots and then hit the button, or you can make your phone so that it's dial in only, or that it can block certain numbers so that your loved one is not answering the phone like to a scammer or something like that, where they can be kind of taken advantage of. Making sure that glass windows, anything like that, has either furniture in front of it or a decal at eye level to make sure that they can see the windows or especially those door walls. They can see that clearly, because otherwise they'll walk right into it. Again, well lit, night lights in the bedrooms, bathrooms, hallways, any area that they might need to go to at night should have some night lights there. Even like things like surveillance cameras can let you see what is happening at home when you can't be there. And again, some of these things we're talking about, they ease the stress of the caregiver, and just being able to look at home and see what's going on can be very comforting to the caregivers if they're not home. Making sure you have storage, appropriate storage, locked storage or locked rooms, everyday items in the most accessible spot. So sometimes we might, like in our kitchen, we might have all of our dishware in the cabinet, but we want to look at what are we using the most. If we use 2 plates every day and that's the maximum we use, maybe the rest of it needs to go on the high shelf, and just the things that we're going to use on the lowest shelves. So I did include a few little pictures of things here. This is something I use. This is an under cabinet light, and it just sticks up with a little like a Velcro. It's removable. You don't screw it in or anything like that. It's rechargeable and it's motion sensing. So something like this can be really helpful, especially if, like, say, if your loved one is going to get up out of bed in the middle of the night and go to the bathroom, you can mount these on the floorboards. And then when they walk by, that's going to turn on. So using something like this as motion sensing. And, just as an aside, I put that on my kitchen cabinets where my cat is not allowed to go. And the other day I saw the light pop on. So she was busted. She got up on the counter at night and the motion sensing light went on. So now I know what she's doing at night. But this could be helpful for families. This, one of the slides talked about if you have to rehome a beloved pet, that's a really difficult thing for people. They actually have these realistic companion animals, and they're soft, and some of them even purr or have a heartbeat. And so this is just something if you've always had pets, you've always had cats, dogs, whatever, you can get something like this from Amazon that can help you feel, reduce the loss that you feel from the loss of a pet. In the bathroom, grab bars, non-skid strips in the tub or shower, grab bars near the toilets, inside and outside of the tub and shower. Again, medications in a locked cabinet. And then lock up any cleaning products, but also we need to think about just the common everyday products, toothpaste, mouthwash, things like that, that we're going to use every day, twice a day, 3 times a day. We want to keep those handy because obviously we want them convenient, but we need to look at everything now and look at, could this mistakenly be eaten? And so we want to make sure, we want to look at everything in the bathroom from that perspective. What happens if they open this and spill it? What happens if they eat this? And make any kind of changes. In the bathroom, again, edge protectors for the sink or counter so that they don't have sharp corners. A bidet attachment for the toilet to help with cleansing. One of the most difficult issues that we deal with is the grooming. And so the showering, the bathing, the toileting, all of these things, that can be a huge battleground for families. And so anything that we can do to give ourselves a little bit of an easier time could be helpful. So I'll show you, I have a little picture of this. You can purchase it's just an attachment for your toilet, but it can assist with cleansing during toileting, which can be a big help. Any one thing that we can reduce the battles over bathing can be really helpful. You can get elevated toilet seats that'll make it easier for them to sit down and to get up. You can mark the inside of the toilet rim with a different colored tape, or replace the seat with a contrasting color from the rest of the toilet to kind of help people with aim with sitting down or with with for males standing and urinating, this could be helpful for them to help with their aim. Another important thing is getting a door that swings out in the bathroom instead of one that swings in, because the bathroom is one of those rooms where people are most likely to fall. And what people find is that whenever their loved one falls in the bathroom, they fall in front of, that's a small space usually, they fall in front of the door. And then that blocks the door, that prevents their loved one from entering. There's been a lot of people who've had to call 911 and get assistance to help them enter the bathroom to help their loved one who's fallen. And then, of course, all this time, they're on the floor. So one of the things that we've talked about is getting an anti-scald valve so that the loved one is not just turning on the hot water. And you'll see on this one, you could set it to the temperature you want it to go to. You could set it. It will go, it doesn't matter. Even if they only turn on the hot water, what this is going to do, it's going to have a shut-off valve. So if only the hot water is on and it's coming in at 120 degrees and you set this valve for 100, it's not going to let any water through. If you have hot, two separate knobs for hot and cold, then this valve is going to mix it so that it doesn't get over 100. It'll limit the flow of one so that the temperature is balanced to whatever you set it. And then, again, you can get an automatic shut-off valve for anything like this. This is the bidet attachment. It's just something that fits on the back of the seat, and the water that goes in here comes directly from the wall. So it's not pulling water from the tank of the toilet. So this is going to help with cleansing. You can get a lot of different styles, a lot of different price ranges, some that'll heat the temperature of the water so that it's more comfortable. Price ranges from 20 to 400. So, they get really elaborate. This one is $30. Let's talk about the bedroom a little bit. You want to make sure that your loved one can get in and out of bed. You want to make sure that, if you have a hardwood floor, that maybe a mat might be helpful next to the bed, but we want to make sure that there's no trip or fall hazard. You might have to use something like a step stool with rails. Make sure they have rails for getting in and out of the bed. Like my bed is really high. I have to get on my tiptoes and kind of leap a little bit to get in, which I love it, But if you have something like that, changing the bed if you need to, or, a step stool with rails could be very helpful for that. Any lamp or light switches should be near the bed and easy to use so that they can switch on the light to get out of bed to go to the bathroom at night. You can get a monitoring system if they're in bed and you're not. Something like a baby monitor. You can also get a mattress alarm that will it will sound an alarm when the person gets up out of the mattress. So that will notify you that they're up. And then you can go into the room and check to see what's going on. But if they're in bed and the alarm doesn't go off, then you can be up and in another room with a lot more peace of mind. And then we need to make sure that the path between the bed and the bathroom is clear of any kind of obstacles. And again, this is where you could add something like the floor lighting to the floorboards. The kitchen, childproof latches on all your cabinets, your drawers, refrigerators, the stove, anything that has fragile, valuable, or dangerous items in it. Again, you're going to lock up all cleaning products, anything that's hazardous, and keeping them away from dangerous appliances like stoves. You can get safety knobs to put over the stove knobs so that they can't turn them. Disconnecting your garbage disposal if you need to, and getting rid of anything that doesn't work properly. I mean, how many times do we just keep stuff, and I'm meaning to take care of that and I'm meaning to get rid of it, but this is the time to do that with anything that doesn't work. Also, the fake fruits and decorations that look like foods that we might keep on our table, your loved one is going to probably mistake that for something edible. So we need to make sure that there's nothing like that that confuse them and they can try to eat when they get hungry. And again, medications need to be, if they're stored in the kitchen, they need to be in a locked cabinet or drawer. We need to remove any spoiled food from the refrigerator. Someone with Alzheimer's may be looking for snacks and may not have the judgment or the sense of taste to stay away from spoiled foods. Let's be honest, I will too. I mean, how many of us we've opened the carton of milk and it's bad and we put it right back in the fridge, so that's kind of what we do. I'll get to that later, so we just need to make sure that we're out of that behavior. We're making sure that anything that's not good comes immediately out of the refrigerator. You can get plate guards to put on your plate to prevent food spillage, so they're not spilling it out of their plate. Unbreakable plates and glassware, stove and oven controls. And then again, this would be another place for an anti-scalding valve for your kitchen faucet. This is an example. We all know what a cabinet lock is, but I just want to say there's a lot of different types, a lot of different price ranges, and they have different types depending on the style of the latch you have on your cabinet. So those kind of things will be really helpful. This is an example of a cover for your stove. So you see that clear plastic over the knob so that it can't be turned. But if you notice a little bit on the left-hand side, that white, that's a latch that's preventing the oven door from opening. And so it's attached to the front of the oven stovetop so that, they can't open the oven door or turn on any of the knobs. All right, so in the dining room, let's talk about that. You can get a professional carpet cleaning to come in and Scotch guard your entire carpet. So if you have some people have white carpets that are going to stain easily, that might be worth investing in, or putting a mat underneath the chair or a plastic tablecloth to protect the table, things like that, for your good things that you can't really get rid of, but you can protect. They say they have tables with a perimeter lip that'll prevent spills from spilling off the table. Now, me personally, I have looked to find that. I cannot find a dining room table with a perimeter lip, but you can find like coffee tables and end tables and those kind of things. So if you're people who like to eat in your living room on your coffee table, that might be a good choice for you. So can kind of encourage even hanging pictures in the room, in the dining room, that highlight the purpose of that room's use. So food, people eating, things like that. Those kind of things might be a little bit helpful for the individual. And then avoiding background noise such as dishwashers or washing machines. Sometimes those kind of things are really close in proximity to a dining room, but especially what we've noticed with my sister is she doesn't like excess noise, and so we have to keep things kind of quiet for her. And if you're trying to get your loved one to eat, which sometimes that can be a battle, so anything like that we can do, like reducing noise that reduces their stress, it would make it easier for them to eat. This is a picture of a plate guard. It just snaps on to the plate and prevent those pesky little peas from rolling off the plate. Right, and then you can get a clear mat for under the chair that's easy to clean. It's waterproof. You can also get them in patterns and prints. So if you want it to go decorative with those, you could. And then entrances and exits. We want to make sure that all doorways are well lit and free from any barriers. Motion sensors for outside light. Make sure that your doors and your locks work well and can open easily. Any stairs or ramps need to be in good repair and need to have secure handrails. You might want to put a no soliciting sign on the front door so that salespeople or uninvited people don't come and your loved one might let them in. But, we want to talk a little bit, I'm going to talk a little bit about wandering after this, but, people who wander, they see a door and they go out it because that's what they've always done multiple times every day. It's kind of a ingrained behavior. But you can get peel and stick scenes like bookcases, brick walls, things like that, that will disguise a door so that it does not look like a door anymore, and your loved one won't use it to let themselves out to go wandering. This is an example of a door cover. That bookcase, it's peel and stick. It's easy to install. It's easy to remove. But it doesn't look like a door, so the person will not try to get out there. Now, I did notice when I was looking for these that a lot of the door covers that actually were pictures of doors with a scene outside, like a garden outside. So that's not going to work. But you can get things like that might show a brick wall or like a bookcase, something like this, and that will cut down on their trying to let themselves out when you don't want them to. So I want to talk about wandering a little bit because this can be a problem. And so there's really 4 reasons that people might be wandering. One is that they're searching for something familiar when nothing is, or they might be searching for something they remember. So they're just looking for something familiar. And so that might be a reason for them to wander. And you can wander in the house or you can wander outdoors. They might be trying to escape. So they might feel that they're being threatened, that there's irritation, there's a loud noise, there's a scary scene on TV. And even though my sister has advanced Alzheimer's, where she can't speak anymore, if they watch a movie and there's a sad scene on the TV, they'll notice she has a tear. And so we have to be careful. And so they just fast forward through those parts of movies. So we need to be careful. Loud noises, irritation, feelings threatened, feeling something sad or scary might make them get up and try to escape. Sometimes it's to satisfy a purpose. They're so used to cooking or caring for children, things that you've done every day of your life. You're looking for that purpose again. You're looking to do that thing, kind of like muscle memory. I remember getting up and making breakfast. So I'm wandering around. I don't know where the kitchen is. I don't, so they're looking, trying to achieve, satisfy a purpose. And then sometimes it's just aimless. There's aimless meandering. They're bored. They're looking for some entertainment. They're confused. They don't know where they are. Or one of them is pain. Sometimes when they're in pain, they just get up and walk like they're trying to escape it or walk away from the pain. So sometimes there's no purpose. So I want to say this: controlled wandering in a safe environment can be stimulating for them and therapeutic. The only caution is if they're wandering and they've been doing it for a long time, they may not be able to stop. And so sometimes they may become tired, exhausted, staggering, limping, things like that. We just need to observe to make sure that they're not unable to stop, so that they just keep going when they really don't want to. You can actually create a wandering path in your backyard. If it's a fenced in area, you can create a looped or a circular path that lets them wander, but that leads right back to the beginning or right back to the door. We don't want to create a wandering path with a dead end, because they'll stand there bewildered and not know what to do. But if we loop it so that they can come back, they'll always end up right back to you or right back to the door. And, this does not have to be elaborate. This could be just pine mulch, anything like that. Something that goes through the flower beds and then continues on through the yard. Here's an area where you can be creative. And especially if your loved one loved working in the yard, they're going to want to be outside. Any fence that you have around this area should be a minimum of 6 feet so that they can't climb over it, especially not weight height, because they could walk toward it and actually just kind of like their top half could go over the fence, falling over in that way. So we want to make sure that the fence is high enough not to be a damage. We don't want to place furniture or anything near the fence that can be used to climb over. And any gates that we have, we need to lock them and place an alarm on them so that we're aware if they make an escape. You can go to, there's a few places that you can go to find assistive devices. And, there's a lot of stuff out there that we're not even aware of. There's a line of clothing that attaches with Velcro instead of buttons and zippers. And they're basically created for people with arthritis. But something like this can make the battle over dressing a lot easier to deal with. So there's just a lot of stuff out there. The Alzheimer's store, this is their web address. They have a lot of stuff there. Amazon, you just go in there and put medical devices, assistive devices, anything like that, and you'll find a lot of things come up there. And then also your local medical supply store. So I want to finish up with this. This is some sources that I went to kind of prepare this. WebMD has some guides, and one of them is on for caregivers preparing your home. The second one is the National Institutes of Health. This is a federal government agency that deals with any kind of health related aspects. And they have topics on a lot of different things, but they do have a booklet on caregiving. So for caregivers. And then Johns Hopkins Medical Center also has some health and wellness tips. And so they have one that's on ways to prevent falls, and so fall safety. And then a book that's an excellent book by Mark Warner, and that's The Complete Guide to Alzheimer's Proofing Your Home. And it covers a lot of areas. All right, so that's all I have prepared for you. And so if you want to, we can go to any questions that you might have.
Yeah, definitely. So anybody, if you have any questions, please put them in our chat box. We do have about 20 minutes left, so we have plenty of time for questions. And Miss Suzanne is a wealth of information, so we can definitely speak with her during this time. So enter your questions in the chat box. I have some questions that have already been sent to me. Some of those are, how would you suggest us to bring up changes in a home environment? So either if your loved one lives with somebody else and you notice unsafe situations, or your loved one lives in a facility and you notice unsafe conditions, how would you recommend us to start the conversation?
I would, there's a saying that anytime we're giving somebody either like bad news or requesting something, we start off with something positive. So I would suggest saying, if it's a family member caring for them, begin with, wow, you have done such a great job with this. And I can see that how much you love your mother, and what a good of a job that you're doing. I attended a workshop about this, and I learned a little something new, and I wonder if it's okay with you if I share a little bit of something that I learned. And you could give them the handout, or you could address whatever specific issue that you notice. And so I think it's about assuming that the person wants to know, because being a caregiver is really difficult and overwhelming. And it might also be when you see them being overwhelmed, you see their shoulders are drooped and they're sighing, or they might say, Mama had a difficult day today. And you can say, you know what, I just heard something that might be helpful. Do you mind if I share it with you? Because that they're in a point right there where they're looking for ideas. But mostly what we've discovered is that people with a loved one who needs that they're caring for, they're usually looking for help. They're asking for help. And so I don't think that they would turn down any suggestions. I think as long as it comes across, it's just matter of fact, maybe this will be helpful, and not in a way that's like, some people will say they use it They might talk about everything that's gone wrong, and it's kind of as an agenda to make them put their loved one in a home, or, this, you can't care for them. Those kind of things, obviously would be avoided.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, we got lots of questions coming in, so y'all can keep sending them. One question is, in addition to the Alzheimer's store, do you know of any other websites that can be used for adaptive items? If not, I have a really great suggestion.
Go ahead.
Okay, so if y'all have not heard of the other nonprofit in the Baton Rouge area called LATAN, LATAN, I have one of their brochures in my desk. It stands for Louisiana Assistive Technology Access Network. LATAN is their name. They are actually going to be doing another one of our Adapt series presentations this year, and their whole nonprofit is about adaptive equipment for people with any type of need. So they have a whole home safety section of their demo store and of their services. So the Alzheimer's store is a great one, but LATAN also is a great one. They do a ton of stuff with price assistance too, financial assistance.
And I will add that to the PowerPoint handout so that whenever you all get it, you'll have that listed there. And I think some of the other places are any of the nonprofits or agencies that deal with people with chronic illness. They usually all have like for the blind or for people with Parkinson's, things like that. And they all have different sections of adaptive technology. And I'll see if I can come up with a few more of those, and I'll add that to the slides.
Yeah, I feel like every day I'm hearing of something else that's an adaptive technology. Okay, let's see. Some people are just saying thank you for the different resources that you shared, and that it's new to them and they're appreciative of you sharing it. One person asked, does programmed exercise like stretching or walking or even lifting weights help reduce wandering?
I think it kind of depends on, I think, which is the cause, which is the thing that prompts them to wander. Definitely all of the things that you've talked about, the exercise and stretching and those kind of things, are beneficial in and of themselves. If they, especially if they love being outdoors, they're going to want to be outdoors. But yes, all of those things can be very helpful. I'm not aware of anything that says that they do it, intending to get exercise, but it definitely is not going to hurt at all.
A person asked about our home safety checklist that we have. I know we talked about that very briefly, but I can send that in our follow-up email. We have a resource here through our office that we send out to families. It's like a 8-page checklist, kind of like what we went through today, very detailed, and I can add that. That's really helpful to give to families. Did you have anything to add about a kind of checklist that people run through and look at their home?
I don't think so. Like, this is good, and I think they have some checklists on the Alzheimer's store, and one of the resources, I think it's the one for Johns Hopkins, they have a checklist as well. So some of those you'll find checklists in some of the resources that I gave.
Cool, that's great.
But yeah, I think we do have, I think I sent you one. I'm not sure if I did or not.
Yes, and I can attach the home safety checklist.
Okay.
So here's another question. It's not necessarily about home safety, but safety in general. Asking questions about tips for car safety or safety on public outings.
In what respect?
I believe ways to make car travel safer, or making traveling safer, I'm assuming.
Okay. Yeah, I know, like with my sister, when she was still living at home, she was able to get out and about, and we would have our sisters lunches and things. And she got to the point where it was distressing for her to ride in a car. And so part of that is, well, you have to do the seatbelt for them and make sure that they're safe. But there were times when she would just get distressed in the car because, visually, you have so much stuff going past your peripheral vision, and that can be a little bit overwhelming. But things like playing music, like people with Alzheimer's really respond to music, and she had her favorites like the Beatles and other people, Mamma Mia. She loved several things that she loved, and so we just always had that handy. So we would play something like that in the car for her, and that would be comforting to her. She got to the point where she wouldn't go in to some place if she wasn't familiar with it. So the one time we tried to go out to eat with her, she wouldn't go in the building at all. It was a glass front, and it was kind of like a smoky glass. It wasn't a clear glass, and she she would not go into a dark room. So she wouldn't go in there at all. So we had to take her home, so it's kind of about doing what you can to kind of help distract and calm them down. But at a certain point, they're not going to want to travel, and that's okay.
Mhm, mhm. Okay, all right.
Sometimes and this is on me, because sometimes she would have a loss, a new loss, that we weren't really aware of. And so like we would go to the grocery store, and I wasn't aware. She, like we walked from the front of the building to the parking lot, and we kind of had to go through the where cars were driving, and I went across, and she had never had a problem with this before, but she had difficulty walking across, and so traffic stopped, and it's things like that. We just need to be kind of alert to make sure. We actually traveled one time, and I don't know how I ended up in front of her going through the TSA checklist at the airport, and I realized she was behind me, and I don't know, I must have been distracted. It was on me. And so I was saying to the man who was checking us through, she has Alzheimer's, but I didn't want to approach him from behind and touch him, because I mean, it was, people were really sensitive in those days about travel. And so I was just kind of yelling at him, she has Alzheimer's, she's going to need help going through there. Again, this is me, and I feel we'll all have these times where we're going to fail as a caregiver. That's just part of it. So don't beat yourself up over this. And fortunately, the lady who was behind her, she says, I got her, don't worry about it, because the reality is most people have experienced having a loved one with Alzheimer's, and people have always been very generous and helpful. And I think I skipped a slide, but one of them was, I think it was under the bathroom section. If you have to go in, if you're out in public and you have to go in with your loved one, and you're male and she's female, or vice versa, then carry sticky notes with you and put a sticky note on the door. Male is helping a female with Alzheimer's. And so do things like that to kind of, I heard of one lady when they went out to eat, she had cards printed up, like business cards that said, thank you for understanding that my husband has Alzheimer's. So when he would have difficulty ordering, she would hand one to the waiter. I mean, we traveled one time, and she was trying to order some food from a little kiosk, and she couldn't decide what she wanted to do. So I said to the lady there, and there was no line behind us. So I just felt free to take my time. And I said, she has Alzheimer's. And the lady said, oh girl, my daddy had Alzheimer's. You just take all the time you need. So it's about really engaging with other people. People are generally very happy to help. And strangers have been so kind to us when we've been out in public. So use that.
Yeah, absolutely. We actually have some of those cards that I can attach on that email too. If any of y'all's loved ones or clients could be helpful with that. at one of our past events, we actually had one of our clients, he wore a t-shirt that said, "I have Alzheimer's, please be patient with me," which was so sweet to see, because even though he was not aware of what that t-shirt said, it was just a big message to everybody that came in contact with him, to just be patient. Okay, we got all.
And I think a part of that is too, because like when my sister couldn't go in that restaurant, she stood on the sidewalk on the front of the door and sobbed. And there were a couple of people on the side of us, and you have to be okay. Don't be embarrassed. Don't worry about whether you're inconveniencing the other people around you. Your person is your priority, and do what you need to do, take the time you need to do, explain if you need to, but don't be defensive, don't be embarrassed, don't be in a hurry, do what you need to do.
Wonderful. Someone asked, are there any caregiver support groups that you are aware of? Yes, we have 9 of them here at Alzheimer's Services. We have lots of support group. We love to support you. So I can send that also in our follow-up email. Somebody commented that buckandbuck.com, so BUCK and buckandbuck.com, they sell adaptive clothing that makes dressing much easier. So I can attach that website in our follow-up email too, for adaptive clothing.
There is also a caregivers support website, and they support all caregivers regardless of what the issue is. And I'll include that on the slide as well.
Perfect, great. We have another comment about adaptive items. LS&S has adaptive items for the visually impaired, which is so great. I find a lot in my, support of people with dementia that visual impairments and depth perception is just so common with people that are on their dementia journey, that different adaptive equipment like that you never even think about is so helpful. Let's see. People are just saying that they are appreciating all of the helpful comments. I have a couple of questions just as our time is kind of wrapping up that I've kind of thought of through our conversation today. And if anybody has any other questions, we still have a few minutes that you can type them in our chat box. You had mentioned a respite zone within the home. That's so interesting. I've never heard of that before, of having a secure space specifically for someone's respite, a caregiver's respite within the home. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, it would be something that has all the things that you love that speak to you. And obviously you would do this if your loved one is asleep, or if there's another person in the house to take care of them, because you don't want to have your attention divided. You don't want to be trying to nurture yourself and then being worried about, oh, I got to go check every 5 minutes. So being a caregiver is difficult. It's exhausting. It's a labor of love. I understand that you do that because you love the person, but it can be very exhausting, and both physically and emotionally, spiritually, it's just difficult. And so there needs to be, most of us have like our favorite spot or our favorite chair. We kind of do that naturally, where we gravitate to a certain spot or a certain place or a certain thing that we love to do. And so this is making that intentional. You need to intentionally set up a space that's what you want it to be. In some traditions, some faith traditions, excuse me for talking about this, this is, everybody's faith traditions are different, but some people actually set up like a meditation space, or they set up like an altar, something that helps them get out of themselves and express their spirituality, touch whatever is transcendent for them. And so we need to do those kind of things that give us emotional recharge, physical recharge. And if that means, one corner in a room or just a chair, something, even if you have to just put a chair in a corner of a room that other people share, and put a room divider around it, something that you are, a curtain, something that you feel a sense of privacy, that you have no distractions, so that you can focus on re-energizing yourself in whatever means that is. If it's listening to music, if it's reading, whatever, you need to give, this is your downtime, not just recreational, but think recharging, re-energizing, renewing. So anything that allows you to do that. And I'm gonna speculate that, many people don't even have that. You don't even know
Oh.
what that is. If you think about setting up a corner in a room, you don't even have the first clue what that would be for you, because we give and give and give so often that we don't think about allowing ourselves to get.
Yeah, I
So
think
this is
that's so interesting, because this whole topic that we have is about adapting your home for the safety of another person. That I think it's so interesting that you included that of, it's still the caregiver's home too, and they also still have to have a space that is safe for everybody, but a safe space for them to be a caregiver still, and you know take care of themselves within the home too. I think that's a great point.
Mhm.
That's wonderful. So we had one more comment that said Billy footwear is a great adaptive shoe. It's available on Amazon and Zappos. I've never heard of Billy footwear, so I'll definitely look into that too. But that is great. But I think that about closes us out. If anybody has any further questions, feel free to enter those in the chat box. But kind of how we will move forward, I will send a email out with an evaluation for our presentation, and then all of the links and attachments of all of the things that we've been talking about. And if y'all wanted to follow up and register for some of our future ADAPT series presentations, all of those will also include a social worker CEU. And our topics that we're going to have throughout the rest of the year are adaptive language tips and skills, adaptive medical and assistive equipment, and also adaptive oh, I'm blanking. What was my other one? One more adaptive something for the rest of the year. But we always have so much education material and support material for caregivers and anybody caring for people with dementia over at Alzheimer's Services. And we're happy to support y'all as best we can. But Miss Suzanne, thank you so much for your presentation today, and your time and your talent with us today, and sharing that with us. We appreciate it.
Thank you, and thanks for giving me the opportunity. It was just an honor to be with all of you, and hopefully everyone learned something helpful. Feel free to contact me if you want to. I'm by no means an expert, but I know a little something. If you have any further questions for me, my contact information will be on the slides that you received.
Thank you. Someone just commented, she said adaptive diet is our next presentation, which is true. It's adaptive diet. So that's another presentation that we have coming up, all about how to keep your brain healthy. So good deal. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us today. I hope y'all have a great rest of your day. I'm going to go ahead and close us out.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much.